Since I have 5 minutes, I'm going to give you a whole lot of slides, and I'm just going to talk really fast. That is not true. I have just a handful of slides, and I'm going to share with you some results from a recent automation project that we just concluded, and then we'll tee it up with our next set of speakers, and after that we'll have a fairly brief panel discussion where you'll have the opportunity to ask questions, and I'll do my best to ask some reasonably intelligent questions as well, given that we're working in intelligent networking. So before talking about the results of our adaptive network automation survey and primary research, it's just a little bit important to kind of set the stage for, what is it that's going on and what is the framework from which we, ACG, are coming from. And so, of course, we have the idea of catalogs and templates and service definitions. And we have that feeding some various levels of orchestration, whether that's network orchestration or service orchestration. And underlying that, we have the concepts, of course, of SDN and NFV. The things that's starting to move into this picture more now is we're starting to collect lots of data, and we're starting to have access to lots of data. But while we have lots of data, we don't necessarily have lots of intelligence or lots of insight. And so when you look at kind of what's happening from an industry perspective, it's certainly the application of analytics, the application of machine learning, pattern matching algorithms, all looking to extract kind of golden nuggets, if you will, of insight and intelligence from a sea of data that we're beginning to collect. And from that, we can start making good decisions, dare I say, automated decisions, that we could begin to build a more autonomic network and have it behave more in that way. So with that, I'm going to jump into the insights that we found from our recent research project. So this was sponsored by Sienna, executed independently by ACG Research. And we surveyed over 200 different participants and at service providers around the globe. And we also did a number of extensive interviews. And from that information, what we found was at 75% of the survey respondents indicating that they expect full or significant automation to occur over the next 5 years. That's just one piece of the information that we found. From that, though, what we wanted to also derive was what are your motivations and what are the challenges you're seeing as you're trying to build this more adaptive and network automation. And so we'll show you that on the subsequent slides here. So one of our first sets of questions and inquiries was around the areas of service provider motivations. What is causing you to embrace adaptive network automation or network automation in general? And what percolates to the top here in the top 4 items is faster service delivery, a desire for happier customers that give you better net promoter scores, for those of you familiar with that term. Also, I wanted to launch new services and I want them to be faster. And as the networks are adapting and changing, I'd really like to have more agility. I'd really like to be able to handle the fact that I'm moving into an era of multi-cloud and applications are moving to the data center, and the destination where I used to send the traffic may not be the place where I'm doing it today, and it's changing. I would point out one other thing, which is certainly costs and the desire to manage costs is on people's minds. There's just no doubt about that. But I think the reason you see operational costs lower on this graph is because if I were to fixate as a service provider on operational costs, what ends up happening or could happen is, well, I could do that at the expense of poor service delivery. I could do that at the expense of not building a more agile network. I could do that at the expense of some other things. And so if I focus on faster service delivery, I focus on improved customer satisfaction and more new services and agility, almost kind of as a consequence of that and my desire and my move toward automation, I will derive improved operational expense as well. Next is, we asked about what are the things holding you back? Why can't you go faster in your network automation journey? And security and intelligence are two top items that you'll see here and you'll see on the subsequent slide. The need for intelligence to extract these golden nuggets from a sea of data. And I'll just mention the security one for a second. The reason security shows up here in part is that obviously people are concerned about protecting the network, protecting the data and their customers' data. But with automation comes the opportunity to eliminate human errors, which are causing us security problems. But it also gives us the opportunity, if we do security wrong, to replicate those mistakes really fast and really broad. So the good news is I've automated security. The bad news is I automated security. And so there certainly is the potential to get into trouble bigger and faster. And so people have expressed a concern about making sure that's done right. This is my last slide for this set of questions. And so then we said, what about key components? So we've got your motivations. We've got the things holding you back. To ask that question kind of in a different way, we said, what are the key things and key components you think are necessary to enable or increase this adaptive network automation? And again, two items that I would point out to you is the analytics and the security. And analytics really a euphemism for intelligence. It's not necessarily analytics. It could be machine learning and AI and pattern matching and all these types of capabilities. And then, of course, there's other aspects of the network that we think are important, the ability to get data from our infrastructure and all the rest. And with that, I'm going to close my set of the presentation